Freedom Radio Hour. Live on Capital Radio 91.6 FM.
All right, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Freedom Radio Hour. I'm your host, DJ Adam Cruz, and I'm sitting here next to my fantastic partner,
Eddie Nicholas. What up, beautiful people, and welcome to another episode of 91.6 FM, the Heartbeat of Sudan, and dwildmusicradio.com, and of course, the Freedom Radio Hour. We are so glad that you are here with us. What's going on, Adam, in the world of music, news, and everything?
Yes, well, brother, I'm so happy to see you as always.
Likewise.
Let's take a minute to let our viewers and our listeners know that the Freedom Radio Hour is here not only giving you fantastic music, but we're here to be your #1 source for music, business, news, and trends from around the globe. All right, we got to step out front and talk about Mr. Usher Raymond.
What did Mr. Usher Raymond do? Or what? Yeah, what did he do now?
Well, you know that Usher is an R&B and pop global phenomenon who sells millions of copies of his albums and singles for many, many years. Usher was involved and was named in a lawsuit brought upon by a co-writer of a song that was a huge hit for him in 2004. Let me give you the details. So the song is called Bad Girl.
Okay.
But when it was initially created, it was called Club Girl. It was created because, you know, when a song comes out, there's the writers of the song, if it's a vocal, and then you have those that compose the music, the producer. So those things together make the song come alive. In this case, we're talking about co-writers Daniel Marino and his co-writer William Geis. On the other side, we're talking about Detsco Production Company, or production house. I'm saying their name wrong, but you'll get the gist of it. You have a production company, the producers, and the co-writers of the song itself. So the song comes out in 2004 under the name Bad Girl. Daniel Marino, who was instrumental in co-writing the lyrics, and he also claims to have come up with a guitar riff in the song, was shocked that he uncovered along the years that he was cut out completely of this deal. His co-writer, William Geis, struck a secret deal between himself, William Geis, and the production house directly with Usher's camp. And they cut out Daniel Marino. So in this case, let's pretend it's Eddie and I, because Eddie and I often write songs for someone else. So in this case, it's like if Eddie and I wrote a song for David Guetta, and David is ready to put the song out, but before it even comes out, I make a deal with David Guetta and the producer of the record, and I cut
you just change the title.
I change the title, and Eddie, I don't even mention it to Eddie at all. Eddie uncovers it and privately is trying to deal with it, but we're shooing him away, whatever. But finally, in 2011, 7 years later, so the record comes out 2004, 7 years later, he gets attorneys to file a lawsuit. There was a long process between 2011 and 2018 because you first have to establish ownership of that material. So he had to prove that he co-wrote the lyrics. He had to
the involvement.
The involvement, the source of that guitar riff that he claimed he created in the song, etc., etc. And that took a number of years to claim ownership, to claim that he was due his share, and then to go back and forth. Initially, his lawsuit named 20 people.
And Usher was named in the original lawsuit.
Yeah, and a bunch of his people. But they, when the judge looked at the case, immediately dismissed the claims for Usher and his camp because he realized quickly that was really around Daniel Marino, William Geis, and Detsco Publishing, right? Detsco Music Production.
So from 20 now down to just those three.
Yes. So now, 7 years after the fact, he finally gets a result. A judge has decided in Daniel Marino's favor, and he has walked away with $44.35 million. What would you do with $44 million?
Well, if he's in the United States, first of all, they're going to get their percentage.
Yes, preach.
So that $44 million is going to shrink down.
So that's going to say half to 20-something million.
Yes.
Then you got the attorney's fees.
Yes.
So you might be walking away with him. You don't never know.
Well, whatever. He got access to that much money. You know, who's the knows? Because, you know, look at it now. We got a $1.something billion Powerball lotto system. So you never know.
You never know. But I think the point here is that It was really
due diligence.
Due diligence, yeah, that stick-to-itiveness, because Daniel Marino had a couple of things I'm really admire about him. Number one, he stuck to it, like Eddie said. 15 years, as a matter of fact, or damn near. So that was one thing. And the second thing is, he had the resources to continue the legal fight for at least 7 of those years, from 2011 to 2018.
Because let's be real, when you get into issues like that, money, those lawsuits they are
very, very expensive. So you have to realize, for all that time and all the money spent, how much will he get back between taxes, as Eddie points out, and the attorney's fees? Either way, there was some important things here that I think are very applicable to the house music community. In particular, what can you do to safeguard yourself? Because, you know, I always talk about these stories. I want people to know what they can do for themselves. So one of the first things we need to discuss is that secret contract that was coming up that he discovered. What was that about? And also, what can you do to safeguard yourself should you have a co-writer or someone you're collaborating with turn out to be shady? You never know that. Marino didn't know that when he worked with Geis initially. So he discovered this. What can you do to safeguard yourself in the future? Let's take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk more about this music business news and a story that I want to share that directly relates to that Usher story that involves Eddie and I in writing a song for a producer.
Be back. 91.6 FM, the Heartbeat of Sudan. D-Wild Music Radio. You know, he just caught me off guard with all of that. But anyway, we'll be back
but when
to
I
talk
tell you the
about
story,
it.
you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Come back with us, all right?
Boom.
Freedom Radio Hour. Live on Capital Radio 91.6 FM.
What up, beautiful people, and welcome back to another episode of 91.6 FM, the Heartbeat of Sudan, and DWildMusicRadio.com, and the Freedom Radio Hour. Here I am with my wonderful co-host, and you know, the always knowledgeable. He just keeps us entertained and informed. The one and only Mr.
Cruz, I just love that. You just give me so much face. For those that are listening, you can't see Eddie's faces, but he just cracks me up. Thank you so much. You're deep in the zone right here on the Freedom Radio Hour, your #1 source for music business news and trends from around the globe. We were talking about Usher and the lawsuit against his camp, brought by a co-writer of a song called Bad Girl. The co-writer of the song is Daniel Marino. He won $44.35 million, in part because he stuck to it for nearly 15 years. He had the resources and patience to keep pursuing these claims that he was very involved in the song. But he was cut out through what he claims were secret deals between his co-writer and the production company behind that song. So it worked very much in his favor 15 years later. But that really spawned a story.
He kept his due diligence.
He did. That really sparked a story, because I always want to think about these stories in terms of what's the call to action for us independent artists? What can we learn from an Usher story like this? So that it automatically brought me back to a memory of a story that I want to share. So we're not sharing names or who's involved, but it's important to discuss it. So Eddie and I co-write songs for quite a few different people over the years. We've been very blessed to really collaborate with a bunch of different artists and record labels. One in particular was a song that we co-wrote. We did the record. That means that we co-wrote the song. We recorded them right here. Eddie sang the lead, and then he and I together sang the background parts, just to give you the pieces of what it took. We took that, recorded it to the track that was sent to us from the producer. And so when we did that, sent it back, and what we usually say is, here's the MP3 of it so you could hear what it will sound like. Do you like it? Do you not like it? Would you like us to continue working on it? Would you like to step out and say no thank you?
Just to get some feedback, some
early
get feedback.
Right. So the producer said that he was into the record, wanted the parts to that means that he wanted the vocals, Eddie's lead vocals, as well as our background vocals.
Now, we would refer to those as stems, correct?
Yes, those are called stems. Right. They're also music stems. So on the producer side, there are stems around the music to make it work. Anyway, so Eddie and I do not send stems without a signed contract. Why? Because we too have been burned over the years where we do the work, send the vocal parts to the producer in the hopes that it's mixed properly, and then a plan is made to release that song or sell that song. But there has been too many times, in fact, where Eddie and I have felt burned or slighted in some way around these basic parameters. So we require a signed contract between us and that party to say, no matter what happens, a few things need to be established. One is we all split the proceeds of this record 3 ways. We all are involved with the record, and we give that producer 1 year's time to do something with the song, meaning set a release date or plan to sell it on. Why do we do that? Because we have had experiences where we wait 2 years, 3 years sometimes for someone to decide what they're going to do about the record. And so I always, unless you disagree, I felt like that was the best way for us to protect our work, was to have some sort of signed contract.
Because it made people responsible. It makes people responsible for what they claim that they're going to do. In regards to what you and I do, we held up to our end.
Yeah, so keep the story going. So
when we send out information and we send out what we want to see as a joint party, we execute certain information, like a contract.
A contract, right. So we send the contract out, and the producer, through some back and forth, finally signed the contract. That's a separate story.
And at this time, and this is with anybody, in the formulation of the contract, when we're sending back and forth, we're saying, do you agree to this? What do you want to put in? What do you want to take out? What we want put in, what we want taken out, so that we all come to a firm agreement that in that 3-way split, that each of the things that each of us want is met.
So very important that you just said that. Thank you. 3 important takeaways right there. You have to read the contract. You have to have the ability to negotiate. That means you have to know what the better rate is for yourself, or a better term for yourself. You have to be able to negotiate, right? Read it, negotiate, and then provide feedback. So that means that communication to go back to the person and say, hey, what you said here, I don't agree with, or this is fine, or what have you.
And what can we do to fix it?
Yeah, to fix it, to get us to sign or what have you. So Eddie and I went through that process, the back and forth with the producer, who initially balked at the idea of having to sign a contract, but we proceeded and pushed, and we got the contract signed. Well, we turn up at an event here in New Jersey, where we oftentimes will congregate or network with other artists that are releasing dance music like we release dance music. So we're at this event having a wonderful time, and the singer comes out to perform a sneak preview of her yet-to-be released song. So she gets up on the stage, looking very beautiful, starts to perform the song, and what did we discover?
That the very track that we had written to was the very track that this artist had written to, and was the very track that was believed to be coming out. But then we find out that 2 other artists,
who were also in the room, we're all looking at each other perplexed, because we had basically all written songs to the same track. So that was clearly a secret agenda on behalf of that producer that wanted to see how many people could write to this particular track. And then we never got the answer to what the purpose was. Was it that the producer wanted to pick the best of the lot, in which case we're still waiting? But what we did was basically reach back out to the producer to let him know the other artists also did the same. And we basically all decided to, well, Eddie and I had our signed contract, so we protected our work. But those that didn't, they basically decided to opt out. So we're at this place now in this story where we will keep you informed, but we haven't yet come up on that 1-year period that we placed in the contract. So right now we're just waiting to see what happens. But this is not unlike that Usher story, because in the Usher story, you had Daniel Marino uncovering his co-writer, William Geis, creating a secret deal that cut him out of that the earnings entirely. And so Eddie and I, working in concert, were able to protect ourselves. But that and it means that you have to trust each other. What if Eddie and I did not trust each other? That contract would still be in effect. That's why it's important, because whether we're getting along or not, that contract is not dependent on that. It is what it is. Let's take a break now. When we come back, we're going to talk more about what it means to deal with things in this music business game today and more. Right here, where?
91.6 FM, the Heartbeat of Sudan, D-Wild Music Radio, the freedomradiohour.com.
Come back with us.
Come on back. Freedom Radio Hour.
And we're back live on Capital Radio 91.6 FM, the Heartbeat of Sudan, and on the web at dwildmusicradio.com. You're deep in the zone, right here on the Freedom Radio Hour. We're your #1 source for music, business news, and trends from around the globe. If you're watching us on YouTube or listening to us on a podcast, take a second and click like, share, write a review, or subscribe to our channels. We'd love the support. Thank you. All right, so we have to talk about this long, drawn-out story, but I think it's a very important one. If you are a music producer, a DJ, a music enthusiast, a co-writer, a performer in some way, shows like the Freedom Radio Hour bring you more of a breakdown of what's going on in the music business game today. We were talking about the lawsuit surrounding singer Usher, but that also springboarded into a further conversation about how that was the very same story that Eddie and I dealt with when we're putting together music for a producer. How we protected ourselves: number one, we trusted each other, we worked in concert, we had a signed contract, and so we were able to protect our work. And we have a master plan. Our plan B always, if that producer doesn't work out, and it looks like this one that we were talking about in the last segment may not work out for the song that Eddie and I worked on, but we have the vocals. So we're gonna do what we need to do to release that song when the time comes. And we're patient too, which is the story around Usher, because Daniel Marino, the main winner in this case, had to be patient to the tune of 15 years before he saw his nearly $45 million in damages.
And let's be clear, when Adam says Usher, it is not Usher that was sued.
Yes, thank you for clarifying.
You know, it was the predecessor and the writer who wrote the song that ended up on Usher's album.
Yes, and exactly right. And even to the point where, let's be clear that Daniel Marino did file in the lawsuit, and he named Usher, and it was a total of 20 that he named in that suit. But the judge in the case dismissed all of those complaints, all of those involved in the complaint, minus the three, which were, minus the other two, which was Daniel Marino's co-writer, William Geist, and the production company, right? So that's who remained, but the judge basically dismissed Usher and his camp. So
and those were the ones who had to pay Marino.
Exactly. And it was, so let's be clear, this is not really a story about Usher, but because he's such a popular artist, it really gave Daniel Marino the leverage to then win that $44 million, because we wouldn't even be discussing this if he had been trying to claim ownership of, say, a song that nobody really got into, because there wouldn't be that amount of money. That's why it's important.
But how much did that song make anyway for him to be able to win that much money?
Well, think about it. If it's part of like a triple platinum or quadruple platinum selling album.
I don't know. I don't really listen to Usher.
A lot of Usher's albums are multi-million unit sold albums.
Usher with your band self.
Yeah, so if you imagine over the years, and this is nearly 15 years, how much money that song has amassed, you know? And then you also have damages. Damages are, it hurt me when you put that song out because I couldn't make money. So the money isn't just what was made in that record. The money also means damages. What hurt me in the process.
And how long you made me wait to get paid.
Right. So it's not really what the song made. It's really about the damages that were incurred. So yeah, but that really started a further discussion, because what's happening here is a really strong switch up in music. We talked about Robin Thicke and the estate of Marvin Gaye, how there was this lawsuit initiated around inspiration.
And we can also throw in the gentleman with YMCA.
Yes, we're talking about
Willis.
Yeah, Victor Willis.
Victor Willis.
Yes, you're talking about Victor Willis.
Victor Willis is up in there, and we can even go back further when you talk about stealing people's voices, Martha Wash.
Yes. And so let's for those that don't know these quick stories, a quick recap is Martha Wash, a powerful singer, was basically shut out of being the visual representation around CNC Music Factory and Black Box and other groups.
And though they had some of the hugest records in the world.
She wasn't allowed to be the face because of whatever image they were trying to keep up. So she won because she basically came forward to say, hey, you know how there's a woman, a skinny woman who's singing these songs up on stage? That's not really her voice, it's really my voice, the more fuller figured woman who they don't want to put up in front. And so what we're seeing is a manifestation of this story over and over again over the years in different ways. But not right now. You have this issue around YouTube. Remember we talked about value gap? That's all that money that YouTube makes in advertisement versus how much they pay out in royalties to record label and publishers. So there's a big problem because YouTube has like billions of users and they pay per user a smaller amount than the other streaming services. So Europe finally getting around to deal with that. They're basically proposing Article 13. It's a fancy bill on the table that makes it possible to stop or prevent a song or video being uploaded to YouTube ahead of time. Right now, YouTube has Content ID. That's like a Shazam-like system. It tracks the music.
Yeah, because I'm saying that's immediate, because I know in the past if I had posted something, like say I posted something by Tom Jones or something like that, you immediately get a notice. Your video has been identified with blah, 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 and it's taken down.
Right, but you just said the words immediate. That means that there's a database that can automatically track a Tom Jones from the first couple of seconds. So it's not unusual starts and boom.
Boom.
You taking it down. That's not what we're saying here. We're saying the bits of the tiniest little samples that make something new, for example, or a sample that isn't as quickly identified in their system.
Okay.
It lives on their system until it's taken down. Article 13 says, let's stop it before it even becomes uploadable or present in the channel. So people are up in arms now because think about what that means. That means if you are inspired to do something in some way, or you use the tiniest little sample, which when we're honest, anytime we're electronically producing music and we're triggering sounds like drum sounds and key sounds, those are samples. So where does this really end? It's like this slippery slope down. I'm down for protection of music, but I feel like Article 13 is going to have some controversy around it because you can't have it both ways. You can't foster this video system around cultivating culture and music.
Because if that's the case, then all these house artists is daggone sure go after Mr. As people. What's his name? Kanye.
Yeah, Kanye West.
Kanye.
Yes, but you're so right about that. I mean, there's so much to think about when you consider these systems that aren't people. They're like bots or automated scripts that trigger, track, and take down material, but they don't have feelings. They don't know.
No, none at all, because, you know, case in point, and then I know we have to wind up. I have had my own material taken down.
So what? Yeah, but this is your own music. Why is it being taken down?
Basically because it's not identifying me as a human. It's identifying the source that put it up there, whatever, the aggregator or whoever put it up there. So in this case, if my song was a mixtape session song,
which is the label I own.
If it's identified as mixtape sessions, it's telling me that I don't have permission.
Right, because it's coming. It should come from my channel. But this is exactly the point, that it doesn't identify that Eddie is actually the artist on that song. And perhaps he and I might have an agreement where I don't mind that he puts up material on his own channel. But they don't know that.
The bot doesn't recognize that.
It's a bot.
And, you know, and a lot of us sit back and we think it's human beings doing that. No, it's not. It's something that is put in place, electronically computerized, that automatically identifies the stuff. And
like Shazam. Shazam is not a person. You know that app. You just have that music play for a few seconds and the app will recognize what that song is, by and large. And so that's not a person doing that. That's just a script. Same thing applies here. Anyway, that's all the time we have for today. We're going to break down more of this music business news in future episodes. There's just so much to cover. Thank you so much for tuning in. Make it your business to listen today to the new Eddie Nicholas Do You Wanna Dance LP, available everywhere right now to stream and download. Check out my new single entitled Trust Your Instincts, Vote, because I'm trying to get everybody around the world to vote for their cause. Whatever it means to you to vote, please vote in every election around the globe, wherever you're from. Also, download our free app for Android and iPhone users. And also just leave a comment and share and like everything that we're putting out there. We appreciate you so much. 91.6 FM, the Heartbeat of Sudan, and
DWOWmusicradio.com and the Freedom Radio. And as Adam said, vote, especially here in the United States, if you want to make a change, November 6th, 2018.
It's a big one, yes. Have a great weekend and a great week ahead. See you next time.
Peace and love.